What's going on, guys? Aero here, and guys, if you've been keeping up to date with their Nintendo Switch leaks, then you guys probably know who Laura Kate Dale is. And if you guys aren't aware of who she is, she's basically one of the most credible sources of Nintendo Switch leaks that we know about. She's leaked a lot of stuff about the Nintendo Switch in the past, and a lot of the stuff that she said has been very accurate, and so she's got a lot of sources to give her inside information on the Nintendo Switch. And she decided to do something really cool on Reddit, which is have an AMA. And if you guys don't know what that is, it stands for Ask Me Anything. And so she said that you could ask her any questions you want about the Nintendo Switch, and she will try to do as best as she can to answer those questions with all of the information that she knows. And so this was really cool. If I knew about this earlier, I definitely would have asked her some questions myself, but after reading through all of the questions that people asked her, people definitely did ask her some interesting questions and some good questions as well. And so there's definitely a lot of cool things here to talk about and a lot of new information as well. But instead of sitting here and reading through every single question that people asked her and reading through all of her responses, that would just take a lot of time. There's just so much questions, so many questions that people asked her, and so much stuff to go through that I actually managed to find a post made by somebody on Reddit. And I don't know who made this, but big shout out to whoever made this. I'll have a link to it in the description so you guys can go and check it out for yourself as well. But this person managed to compile all of the important things that Laura Kate Dale said in her responses, and he managed to put together all of the important themes that come up in her responses as well. And so there's a lot of big stuff here and a lot of new interesting things about the Nintendo Switch as well. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and get ready, because we're gonna start talking about a lot of cool things about the Nintendo Switch. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is pricing and release date. So Laura Kate Dale says that everything she's heard points to a starting price of $250, and she is positive that it will be less than $300. So this definitely makes a lot of sense to me. I think Nintendo definitely needs to make the Nintendo Switch less than $300. I mean, for what you're getting in the box, it doesn't seem like it should be worth more than $300 in my opinion. I mean, essentially you're just getting the tablet console, the Nintendo Switch docking station, you're probably going to be getting the Joy-Cons and then the Joy-Con grip, and then probably just like the wires to set it up, like the HDMI, the power cord, the charging stuff and stuff like that. It doesn't look like you're getting that much stuff, so definitely $250 or below $300. I definitely think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're not getting that much for you're not getting that much in the box, so it definitely doesn't seem like it should be like $350 or $400 or anything like that, unless they add like a lot of extra things. So yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And also, if Nintendo wants to compete with Microsoft and Sony, they need a cheap price like this. They need a good price. I still think $250 is the sweet spot. That's a great price right there. But if Nintendo wants to stay in the competition and stuff, and they want to have a well-selling system, they definitely need to have $250 or $300 at the max. I think that's a good price. Alright, next thing we have is that she also reconfirms that March 17th will be the release date for PAL regions, and the rest of the world will get it the same week. Now, I think that March 17th is a pretty good release date, but if it was up to me, I definitely would have chose March 10th, because March 10th is Mario Day, if you guys don't know. And I think, a lot of people are saying that new Mario game that they showed in the reveal trailer is going to be coming out with the Nintendo Switch. And so having a new Mario game come out on Mario Day with a brand new system, I think that just makes so much sense to me, and I definitely would have made the system come out on Mario Day. But either way, March 17th, having a system come out on St. Patrick's Day, or just having the system come out in mid-March, it seems like a pretty good release date. It's not too late into March and it's not too early. Mid-March definitely seems like a good release date to me. So yeah, that looks pretty good. And now the next thing we have is a lot of information about the games. And so it says right here that Laura says a lot of times throughout the AMA that everything public about Breath of the Wild points to a March release date, but everything she's heard from her inside sources are telling her that it's a June release date. However, she says at a different time in the AMA that she's heard of a June release date in only PAL regions. Now, I don't know if they would do that. I don't know if they would release like a game in different regions, like from time to time, like how how they did with Yoshi's Woolly World. Like they released that in Australia, I'm pretty sure, like really early, and then they released that in North America and stuff. They released that really late, so I don't think that they would do that with such a major game as Breath of the Wild. I don't know, it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. And a lot of people are wishing that it does come out in March. Having Breath of the Wild come out with a brand new system, that's easily a system seller right there. But either way, if it's coming out in June, that's not that bad. Having a big summer title, I think that that's pretty good. A lot of kids and people will be getting out of school and college and stuff, and there's going to be summer break going on. So I think if they want a big game like this to be a summer title, that definitely makes a lot of sense to me. As long as we have one powerful big game on launch day, like if that new Mario game's coming out, that's what a lot of people are saying. I think we have a solid launch day already, but I don't think that they should release both of those games obviously at the same time. And if they make Mario at launch and then Zelda in the summer, that's totally fine with me. And so yeah, I think that that's perfectly fine. Next information we have is that Splatoon and Mario Kart are enhanced ports, and that Mario Kart is a very enhanced port and Smash port has minimal enhancements. So this makes a lot of sense. There's no way I would think that they would just release Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon like the same thing without changing up anything, and we saw that in the trailer too. We saw King Boo and new characters and stuff like that. So they're definitely enhanced ports. They're not brand new games. I'm sure Nintendo will release other like brand new games in the future, but that's pretty good. It says Mario Kart is a very enhanced port. That seems pretty good. I do want really big improvements in Mario Kart. Change up the battle mode, give me some old characters back. I really liked Mario Kart Wii. Mario Kart Wii was actually like my favorite Mario Kart roster in the history of Mario Kart. I just loved all the cool characters they put in that game. If you can put all the missing characters from Mario Kart Wii onto Mario Kart 8, I'm happy right there. Give me all those characters. I think that that's good. Change up the battle mode. Make sure that it's like a nice battle mode again. You can add maybe a few more tracks, stuff like that. I think that that's fine. That's pretty good right there. And it says that the Smash Bros port is minimal. That seems to make a lot of sense. I mean, I'm sure Sakurai said a lot of times that he doesn't want to get into making a lot of Smash Bros stuff. I mean, he's so done with that game. He always says that. It tires him out so much, and he's done so much with Super Smash Bros already that it makes a lot of sense that it's going to be minimal. I mean, some of you guys, maybe you're like me and you just have you only purchase characters with DLC, and I'm guilty of that. I didn't purchase any of the DLC besides the characters for Super Smash Bros. And so if you guys just purchase the characters, you might think that there's not a lot of content, but if you guys actually purchased all of those Mii costumes, all of those stages, all of the characters, there's a lot of content that actually was DLC for Super Smash Bros. And so I can definitely see why Sakurai would be tired and he doesn't want to put a lot of content into the game. I think he probably put maybe like one or two new characters just to call it an enhanced port, like enough information or enough content to call it an enhanced port, but I don't think it's going to be a lot of stuff, and that definitely makes a lot of sense, so I can see that as well. And so yeah, it also says that she has heard of 2 third-party exclusives, one being the Mario and Rabbids, and she also expects at least 3 third-party exclusives at launch. So that seems really cool. We've already heard about that Mario and Rabbids game. That was a leak that came out a while back. So yeah, that seems pretty cool. And 3 other third-party exclusives at launch. That's pretty big right there. We don't know what these games are, so obviously we'll just have to wait and see how it is. She also says that the initial virtual console will 100% be a disappointment in terms of raw volume of titles. She also says that expect an upgrade fee again. So yeah, this is definitely a bummer, and a lot of people were talking about this, so it does look like that for virtual console you are gonna have like an upgrade fee again, like you did with the Wii to the Wii U. So I guess we're just gonna have to deal with that. Not too much to say about that. So yeah, we are getting leaks though that GameCube might be coming onto the virtual console as well, so that seems like it'll definitely be really cool. But yeah, it does suck that we're gonna have to pay money to upgrade again. Alright, she doesn't think that Retro Studios' new project will be shown at the event, and of course the event that she's talking about is the January 12th event, and she says, on the topic of Retro Studios, when asked, do you know anything about a new Metroid game, she replied, I know that Retro are not working on one. So it looks like she's pretty confident that Retro isn't working on a new Metroid game. It could be something else, we'll just have to wait and see. And she says that the new Mario game will be showed off, named, and playable at the event and will be day one launch game. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. Like I said, that new Mario game, that's definitely a big launch game right there. So it makes a lot of sense to launch that. And I guess we'll just have to wait till January 12th to see everything about it. She also says that there is at least one brand new IP announced at the event. That is something really big, guys. I think that that's so cool that we're going to have one brand new IP announced at the event. And I'm glad to see that Nintendo is confident again in new IPs. I think Splatoon really helped them realize that new IPs can work on Nintendo. And it's not the same, Pokemon and Zelda and Mario all over again. You can try new things and usually it'll work out. And I think that since Splatoon did so well, they definitely do have motivation to make new IPs, and so that's great. I'm really excited to see what new IP we could see. And she says she's sure that there's going to be at least one shown at the event. Once again, you can't just take this as like it's confirmed, but it's still pretty interesting to think that we might see a brand new IP at the event. She's also heard rumors about Luigi's Mansion 3 as early as February 2016, but never reported on it because lots of info was debunked, has a lot of info on what will supposedly be, and she says that she will share on the sub if we want her to. So a lot of information about Luigi's Mansion 3 that she knows about, but she doesn't want to share it because it's already been debunked. So I guess that's pretty interesting. We also have very interesting information on Mother 3. She says that she goes on to say that her and Emily have heard from many reliable sources that a localization is in the works, but it just never surfaces. She calls it the phantom rumor. And she also says that Monolith Soft are working on something new that isn't a Xenoblade Chronicles X Switch port, but a new game that has combat similar to Xenoblade Chronicles X. So that seems like a lot of big information right there. We got a lot of information about the games, a lot of cool things right there, stuff about the new IP, and a lot of cool things I'm very interested about. And so yeah, that's definitely a lot of interesting stuff. Next thing we're going to be moving on to is the hardware. So this is a whole bunch of stuff about the hardware of the Nintendo Switch. And so yeah, the first thing she says is about the battery life, and she says 3 hours max battery life if you continuously play a game is what she has heard. What she says next, I think, was just speculation, but she says that if the settings are turned down for portable mode, it will probably last longer than 3 hours. However, much to turn down the settings for portable mode will be up to the developers and not to the user. So pretty much 3 hours, it looks like for her it might be the maximum battery life, and I think that that's not pretty bad. I guess it's kind of, like mediocre, like a lot of people were saying. It doesn't look like it's going to be that bad, but I don't know how long you guys play your handheld games. I don't play usually more than 2 hours. Like after 2 hours, I just don't have fun playing handheld games. I just get tired of it, so I usually put it down. But I can definitely see 3 hours being like an issue for some people, especially like if you're going on like a long car ride or something. That time, I'd actually want 3 hours or like more because, you really have nothing else to do besides play your game. So I can definitely see that. Maybe Nintendo has other things planned for the battery life. So 3 hours, I guess, you guys can comment down below on how you feel about that. So yeah. Alright, next thing is she fully expects undocked games to run better than Wii U games. So yeah, we've already heard about the specs so far. We know it's going to be more powerful than the Wii U. So, undocked games running more powerful than the Wii U, that's pretty big right there. It definitely looks like that the Nintendo Switch will be powerful than the Wii U. And, we expected that. So yeah, nothing new there. And she also says a few times that she is confident about custom Joy-Cons being a thing. Also on the topic of Joy-Con, she has every reason to believe that it'll have an advanced vibration, as she reported back in August. And she also says that there will be charged via Joy-Con grip and will have a 5-hour battery life. So obviously it makes sense to have a longer battery life than the system itself. We've heard rumors that the Joy-Con grip is going to be able to charge the Joy-Cons as well. So that's cool right there. Custom Joy-Cons being a thing, that makes a lot of sense too. I can definitely see custom Joy-Cons for different types of games. I think that that's a really big thing right there. So I think Nintendo is definitely going to take advantage of the Joy-Cons and try to come out with new things right there. Also, she said that she's believing that there's going to be vibrations on the Joy-Cons as well. Makes a lot of sense. Like if you're playing a racing game or something, having vibrations and stuff, that makes a lot of sense. She says that she's heard nothing about 4G capabilities, and so this is probably a person who asked, like wondering if you could play online while you're on the go. I don't know how that would work. I don't think that Nintendo really wants to get that technical with stuff like that and have a data plan and all of that anyway. But if they do have a data plan, I'll probably get it myself. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I don't think Nintendo really needs a data plan. I don't think that many people really care about playing online on the go. I think on the go is just sort of more like that thing with, you play by yourself, and if you have like a friend or something with you, then you can play local. But I don't think that people really want to play online, if they had, 4G capabilities. But you guys can comment down below and let me know on how you feel about that. She is 1200% sure that it will have a touchscreen, and obviously the Nintendo Switch has to have a touchscreen. Nintendo has been using touchscreens for so long, it definitely makes sense to have a touchscreen. Nothing new about that. She also says that it will have Bluetooth capabilities, but doesn't know if it's just specific for apps or the console in general. I think Bluetooth is definitely an important thing for, controllers. It's important for headphones and stuff like that. So I definitely think it should have Bluetooth. She emphasizes that most people don't know how a good effective API is for underpowered software or underpowered hardware. So yeah, that's pretty big right there as well. And she also says that she expects the Pro controller to have basic gyro controls. Makes a lot of sense, like basic, you can move it around and stuff. That makes a lot of sense to me. And she also says that it holds up to a 128 gigabyte on micro SD. But further, she says that she would expect more because there's no reason the Switch wouldn't be able to do that. Makes a lot of sense. If it's just a SD card slot, then why can't you just put in a larger amount? It definitely doesn't seem like there should be a reason it just caps out at 128. So yeah, a lot of big stuff right there about the hardware. And finally, or not finally, next thing we have is information about the presentation that's going to happen on January 12th, and that all the events that are going to happen for the Nintendo Switch as well, like those events where you guys can go and interact with the Nintendo Switch and pick it up and get to use it. So the first thing she says is that the January 12th presentation is really beefy. There's still some small surprises left, and folks will enjoy seeing it all unfold. And she says that it's probably about 30 to 60 minutes in length, probably, and so that's definitely some speculation by her. And so yeah, I definitely think that the Nintendo Switch presentation is going to be pretty beefy. I'm gonna have a video at that in the future about like what I want to see from it and all of that, but definitely makes a lot of sense to have as much information as they can. This is definitely one of those events that I would be perfectly fine with if Nintendo goes on for 2 hours or 3 hours. I don't care how long this event is, as long as they can make it a long event and full of content, I'm totally fine with that. And she says 30 to 60 minutes. There's no way I think that they could fit all of the content that they want to show about this system in 30 minutes. I think 60 minutes seems like a good amount, maybe even longer, like an hour and 30, 90 minutes, something like that. I don't know, but I definitely think it's going to be a packed, a presentation packed full of content. So yeah. Next thing she says is the presentation will touch on third-party stuff, hardware, and UI system level info. So that makes a lot of sense. They're probably going to bring out some third-party developers like they did with the Wii U event to talk about their games. They'll probably talk a little bit about the hardware, like how to use it and, battery life and stuff like that, and some UI system info. So like you said, or if you guys don't know what UI is, it stands for user interface. So basically it'll show you like how the menus look on the system and like how to navigate through the menus and stuff like that. So I'm very interested to see how the UI is going to look on the system as well. Pretty good. Next thing it says is that she says that Nintendo is going in all hands on events. She says that every major event between January 12th and March 17th will include hands-on for the Switch. And so I'm very glad to see that Nintendo is definitely pulling through with the hands-on stuff for the Nintendo Switch. They definitely want to get this system out there. They want to see as many people as they want. They want a lot of people to see this system. So that's really good. I think that that's a really good business move. Having as many people see this system as they can is definitely a lot of good stuff right there. They definitely are going to get a lot of people to see this system. And finally, the last thing we have is just miscellaneous information. So this is stuff that, the person who made this post didn't know how to categorize. And so it just says, the first thing right here, no additional docks will come for the Nintendo Switch at launch, but they will come eventually. And this was a rumor that we got a while back as well. People were talking about how there was going to be additional docks. So it makes a lot of sense if they're, cheap and easy to produce, like what a lot of people were saying. So it looks like they're not going to come at launch, but they will come eventually. Makes a lot of sense. I think Nintendo doesn't want to confuse people with buying multiple docks and stuff like that. Makes a lot of sense. The cartridges for the Nintendo Switch are shaped differently than the 3DS and DS. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think we saw that in the reveal trailer itself, like when we saw the guy putting it in. It was definitely a different shape. It was much more thicker. And she also tells us how there were multiple iterations of dev kits. One went out in July and another more powerful one went out in October. She says a lot of the specs info we've heard is based off of the July dev kit. And then she enthusiastically says that the Nintendo Switch is region free. And I know a lot of people are excited about this. A lot of people love to play games from other regions. And having you be able to buy games from other regions is definitely going to be good. And Nintendo systems, a lot of people don't like it because you can't buy like Japanese games and like European games without buying like a European DS and stuff like that. So it's definitely cool how the Nintendo Switch looks like it's going to be region free. And she definitely says this a lot of times. Like I read through all the questions that people asked her, and she says multiple times that it looks like it's going to be region free. So that's really good. And finally, the last thing she says is that there will be an achievement system, but she's unaware if it's different from My Nintendo ones on your smartphone. And she also says that there's an account on your Switch, and it's going to be the same one that you use for Miitomo and Mario Run. So that looks like it's My Nintendo, and this would be the last time that we have to create a new Nintendo account. So that's really good. A lot of stuff right there. Having you be the last time to create a Nintendo account, it looks like this will finally be like that one Nintendo account that we create, and it's going to keep on going for generations and generations of Nintendo. And I think that that's pretty good. I really think that Nintendo just needs to have one account, no Nintendo Network IDs, and not My Nintendo and a whole bunch of other stuff like that. Just have one account that we can all use. And so yeah, there you guys go. That is everything that Laura Kate Dale provided in this massive AMA that she had. So much information on the Nintendo Switch. So many things just got reconfirmed. So many new things of information that we got here. So many new leaks. So much information about the hardware, the games, and stuff about the event as well. A lot of cool things. So much information. It looks like this Nintendo Switch event is definitely going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be very hype. So it's definitely a time to get excited over. It's coming up real soon. I mean, if you guys think about it, we only have like 3 weeks until that event. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be great. This system looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and this system it's shaping up to be a great system. So yeah, this looks like a lot of cool information right here. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to click that like button. It really does help me out. And if you guys have other suggestions on what you want for Nintendo Switch videos, you guys can comment those down below as well. But definitely just comment what you guys think of all the information that we got. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say for all this information that we got right here. And as always, if you guys are excited for more Nintendo Switch videos and excited for Nintendo content on this channel, then be sure to subscribe. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero, and thank you so much for watching.